Systemic racism, it's an aerosol. We can't see it. You can't, it's just in the air.
She's made something of herself and you can't take it because she's strong, beautiful, and black.
How much pushback, though, do you get from Hollywood for covering the themes and topics that you cover?
When you think about even Billie Holiday, all of my films have been independently financed from the very, very beginning. I'm an artist, but I'm also, I come from a family of drug dealers and, they survivors, because that's all we had in the streets. So when I came to Hollywood, I had $7 in my pocket and I was determined to do something with myself. So you have to create your own destiny.
When you first moved to LA, you were a talent manager, then you got in producing. What was it that sparked that directing bug for you?
Well, I wanted to direct early on in my life. I mean, I didn't know what it was. I went to the library as a 7-year-old kid. I walked to the theater section and I pulled out a book and it was called Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? How about me reading that book and me having everybody on my stoops reading Martha and George and the other couple? And I didn't know it was then, it was directing then. Ladies in the Blues was a turning point because I understood that I wanted to direct at that moment. I started directing theater. I didn't understand that it was even possible for Black people to direct. That's how old I'm sounding, right? Because I was directing theater, I had directed a couple of actors that were trying to find work. So I said, let me manage you. Let me find some work for you as a manager and so that's how I sort of got really into the business. I didn't go to film school. All of it was learned on set representing actors. So by the time that I started, I really wanted to direct Monsters Ball. I couldn't because I didn't, what does that mean? I watched what they did, what Mark Forrester brilliantly did. And that was sort of like, okay, I got a good understanding. I was the first Black man to be the sole producer of an Academy Award nominated film. Halle Berry, that was really important to me, that win.
This moment is so much bigger than me.
And so studios never understood me. Even after the success of Empire and Butler, I still had to independently find money for Billie because they did not want to finance this movie, as they did not want to finance Butler, as they did not want to finance Precious. It becomes easier for me to raise capital for films, and studios inevitably buy them.
Whether it's Precious, whether it's Empire, or now Billie, the way that you take these really strong Black women and show their vulnerability is so important for me to see. Is it important for you?
Thank you. It is really important for me to see. I grew up with a bunch of strong women and that were funny and that dealt with pain in a very interesting way. When I was doing The Butler, some of my research said that the slaves that survived the journey from Africa were the ones that laughed. So it was important for me. And I understood that when I did that, I understood my mom, I understood my aunts, I understood Black women on another level. You have to shake it off to survive. And you shake it off with a little bit of laughter. You know what I mean? Because if you really sit in that, it's a dark place to sit. And so I applied that to, I apply it to all of my work, but in particular, we had to find the humor with Billie.
Why don't you ever sing Strange Fruit?
Strange Fruit. It's a song about important things, things that are going on in the country.
The film centers around Billie Holiday's song, Strange Fruit, which many say started the civil rights movement. Why was it important for you to tell that story now?
Because I didn't know. I mean, I'm a 61-year-old smart guy. I think I know about Black history. And I didn't know anything about Billie's story. Once I found out that the government hounded her for that song, I had to tell the story. Someone told me that they're even doing it to rappers now. They hound them until they find the cops. It's fascinating.
In the script, they make reference to Judy Garland and how her drug addiction was handled, and then how Billie's was criminalized. And again, you have more empathy for this woman.
Well, it's no different than the opioids right now. Right now that white people are doing opioids, it's a disease. But back with Billie, no, it was a crime. Systemic racism, it's an aerosol. We can't see it. You can't, it's just in the air. I love this new generation because what's happening now is you guys have brought it to the forefront of what's happening, and there is no denying it right now. So it's great to see what's happening because of y'all.
How important is it for you to give different Black actors opportunities that they're not getting in TV and film with other directors.
And not only Black actors, but Black crew. Early on in my career, people thought I was crazy. And you get labeled that. It's funny how it can seep into even our community as Lee Daniels is crazy. Lee Daniels is crazy because I wanted Black people on the set of Monsters Ball. It's not just about being in front of the screen, but behind the scenes. In the writer's room for Empire. They don't have any experience, they're not in the union. It's always the block. I had to fight to get John Singleton to direct an episode of Empire. And then what happens is that they label you as difficult. And then sometimes it seeps into our own community that he is, because the masses, the same thing they did to Billie Holiday. But until we have Black studio heads that are at the CEO level that are saying, okay, that hot sauce goes on the collard greens, until you understand that the hot sauce goes on the collard greens, you're never going to be able to understand Lee Daniels, or you'll never be able to understand the importance of Spike Lee or Ava DuVernay. We are in a position now where we're able to direct, because you got to remember, I come from a time where there wasn't us. I've seen so much growth in Hollywood. I know Empire changed the game, because there really wouldn't be a Black Panther or the Renaissance with Insecure and all the others if Empire they didn't really understand that we really can get eyeballs on us. I think it gets better every day.
And you two non-boss bitches can kick rocks. That means get up and get out.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Keep it moving.
Don't validate their parking.